Valencia, November 2023. 2 races left on the calendar, and one man has already been buried by his own team. Fabio Di Giannantonio, 25 years old, 9 years deep in Gresini colors. A kid who bled for that garage since Moto3 finds out the way a soldier finds out his own side sold the position, through a press release. Gresini doesn't call a meeting. Gresini doesn't sit him down man-to-man. They sign Marc Marquez, 6-time world champion, and they let Diggia read about his own execution in the paddock rumor mill weeks before it's official. No seat for 2024. Nothing. 9 years of loyalty, and the reward is the door. This isn't a contract update. This is a body left in the street as a message to the rest of the grid. Nobody is safe, not even the guy who bleeds your team's colors. October 2023, Indonesia. Marquez is already confirmed. Diggia rides through the wreckage of his own career and finishes P4, his best result in MotoGP at that point, and the cameras catch him in Parc Fermé, alone, crying. Not celebration tears, grief tears. A man mourning a career that's about to be over before he's 30. Everybody in the paddock knows the story by then. Marquez bought himself out of Honda a year early. Alex Marquez keeps his seat because blood protects blood. Diggia, the guy who isn't royalty, isn't an academy kid, isn't anybody's brother, gets erased. That's the sport, that's the business. You can give it everything you've got and still get replaced by a bigger name with a bigger story. But here's where it turns into war. Think about the psychology of that moment. You're 25. You've given a team 9 years, Moto3, Moto2, MotoGP, every step of a career built inside one garage, and in return, they don't even give you the dignity of a private conversation. You find out through headlines that a 6-time champion is walking into your seat. That's not a business decision landing on a rider. That's humiliation, delivered in public, timed to hurt as much as possible. Most riders fold under that. Most start riding scared, protecting whatever reputation they have left before the axe finishes falling. Di Giannantonio did the opposite. Qatar, the resurrection. Lusail, under the lights. A man with no future left tears through the field on year-old machinery and wins his first MotoGP race. Not a fluke. Not a gift. A statement written in someone else's blood, because that win came at the direct expense of every team that had already written him off. Ducati's own sporting director, Paolo Ciabatti, comes out and says it plain. It would be unacceptable for this man to be left without a ride for 2024. That's not just praise. That's Ducati publicly pressuring the paddock to find him a home, because even the manufacturer knew what had just happened was too good to let rot on the sidelines. Valencia, the finale. He's fighting for a podium, gets robbed by a tire pressure penalty, drops to 4th. Doesn't matter. The performance already did its job. It rewired the whole conversation. 2 weeks earlier, he was a dead man walking in this paddock. Now he's the story every team boss is being asked about in the mixed zone. That's the fastest resume rebuild this sport has seen in years, built entirely under the exact pressure designed to break him. Enter Valentino Rossi. VR46 wasn't supposed to be the answer. Luca Marini, Rossi's own half-brother, vacates the seat to chase Honda's factory dream. And even then, VR46's own team boss Uccio Salucci is on record saying, days before it happens, that Diggia probably won't get the nod. He's not academy. He never wore the yellow VR46 colors as a kid. He's an outsider walking into a family business. And then Qatar happens, and the family opens the door anyway. November 27th, 2023, VR46 signs Fabio Di Giannantonio. Rossi, flying into Valencia not for Diggia, but to watch Bagnaia seal a title, leaves with a new rider in his pocket instead. A man with no seat, no leverage, and nowhere else to go gets a second life inside the house Valentino Rossi built. This is the lifeline, not charity. Rossi doesn't do charity. He saw a wounded animal that still had teeth, and he knew exactly what a rider fighting for survival could do once you gave him a real bike and a real reason to trust again. 2024. A broken collarbone at the German GP costs him 3 races. still finishes ahead of Bezzecchi in raw pace when healthy, still standing toe-to-toe with the very Marquez brother who now owns his old seat. 2025, the podiums come back. First time since 2023, he's tasting the champagne again. 4 of them across the season. Proof the Qatar miracle wasn't a one-off, but the floor of what this rider could actually do with stability under him. 2026, Ducati hands VR46 factory-level support, same specification bike, the GP26, as the Works team. Not a hand-me-down anymore. A weapon. And Diggia turns it into a rampage. Consistent top 4s, and then Catalunya. Barcelona this year. Carnage. Acosta suffers an engine failure. Alex Marquez has nowhere to go and crashes into the stricken KTM. Debris rips loose and strikes Diggia's own hand mid-session. Red flag. Then a second red flag. A brutal turn 1 crash leaves Johan Zarco seriously injured. Through all of that wreckage, on a battered hand, Fabio Di Giannantonio hunts down race leader Pedro Acosta and takes the lead with 3 laps to go. VR46's first win since 2023. Rossi, trackside grinning, calls him a dragon. Then Rossi says the quiet part out loud, half joking, all serious. "Are you sure you want to leave us?" Because by then, everybody already knows. The man Rossi rescued is about to walk out the door Rossi built for him. Here's the brutal part. Rossi begged. Not once. Repeatedly, publicly, on camera, in interviews. Said the team wants to keep at least one Italian at its core. Said they're proud of the journey. Every version of stay a legend can offer, Diggia heard. He left anyway. Not for money alone. Not for spite. For the one thing VR46, a satellite team, structurally cannot give him, a name on the factory wall. Since the end of 2023, since the night he got executed by Gresini, Di Giannantonio has said it outright. His dream was a factory seat. VR46 gave him survival. KTM is offering him status. And 2027 is the perfect moment to gamble on it. An all-new 850cc Pirelli tire regulation era where nobody's hierarchy is guaranteed. Where being early on a new platform can be worth more than being comfortable on an old one. The other side of the coin. Now look at what KTM is actually doing. They just watched their own homegrown talent, Pedro Acosta, the kid they built the future around, walk out the door to a factory Ducati seat instead, worn down by the very machine that was supposed to make him a champion. Technical failures, reliability nightmares. Acosta himself, frustration barely hidden. Who's to say it won't happen again? A generational rider, suffocated by hardware that couldn't keep pace with his talent. So KTM loses the kid it spent years building and turns around and signs 2 riders it did not build. Alex Marquez, fresh off a runner-up championship finish, fills the void where Acosta stood. And Diggia, the man executed by Gresini, resurrected by Rossi, matured on Ducati steel, becomes the second half of the reset. Brad Binder, 7 years in that factory garage, a man who gave KTM its first ever Premier Class win back in 2020, gets shown the door to make room. 7 years of loyalty, gone in the same ruthless arithmetic that once erased Diggia from Gresini. The wheel keeps turning. Nobody's safe. That's the only law this sport actually enforces. Ask yourself, is that faith in Diggia, or is that KTM hedging a bet with proven Ducati DNA because their own project burned through the talent it grew? Both things can be true. KTM's own motorsport director called him one of the sport's most consistent frontrunners now. Not potential, not promise. Present tense. Delivered. So here's Fabio Di Giannantonio's story, stripped to the bone, buried by his own team with 2 races left in 2023. Resurrected by a legend who wasn't even looking for him. Rebuilt into Ducati's leading rider in the World Championship by mid-2026. Begged to stay by the same legend who saved him. And still walked toward the one thing nobody could offer him before. A factory seat, on his own terms, earned in blood, not given as charity. 2027 will either canonize this decision or bury it next to the names of every rider who chased a factory badge into a project already crumbling under its own talent exodus. Enea, Vinales, Binder, Acosta himself. The talent that arrived at the wrong team at exactly the right time. But bet against a man who has already been left for dead once and came back a killer? That's a mistake this sport has made before.